Welcome to the Tabletop Gaming Guild show. The Tabletop Gaming Guild is all about the memories and experiences that playing tabletop games with friends and family can create. On this very, very special episode, we're going to go over our top 10. We do this yearly, and each year, some of our lists change. Mine doesn't change that often. Did a little bit last year, but we're going to see how that shakes up. I'm going to start off, and then we're going to go around, and you're going to find out what our top 10 is. So this is going to be our number 10. My number 10 game is Mind Management. Mind Management is an amazing cooperative game where one player is playing as, oh my gosh, my mind just went blank. They're playing as the basically the recruiters. That's right. So the recruiters are on the one side, and that's one player, and all the other players are the rebels. The recruiter is trying to recruit agents so that they can benevolently continue to keep the world safe and make the decisions on how the world runs, benevolently, of course. The rebels think that this is wrong and they're doing something evil, which is obviously incorrect, and they are trying to stop the recruiter. So the recruiter needs to recruit a specific number of, I think it's 8 recruits to win. The other agents need to find out where the recruiter is. So this is a cooperative hidden movement game. The recruiter's moving around the board in a hidden manner, and the other players are trying to suss out where they are by the different icons that are on the board. And every place on the board has 2 different landmarks, and they match up in different places. It's a really fun game. It's a very stressful game. And to make it even better, they have a whole campaign thing that goes with it where the losing team gets to unlock a box, whether it was the a recruiter or the rebels, and they get to add to their character and do more cool things. So really liked it. That was Mind Management for me. How about you, Nathan?
So my number 10 is a Euro game that people mistakenly thought was a Ameritrash, rather. That's Scythe. So Scythe is a really great resource management game with a little tiny bit of combat that may or may not happen in every game. But I really love the fact that you have limited movement to begin with. You can upgrade your abilities as you go and unlock new things. Also, the board mechanic's pretty cool, where when you take an action, you can't take that action again the next turn. So, and each board is a little bit different. So you have a main action and a sub action. And so how those pair up on your individual board can really affect how you play the game. Really cool game, really cool artwork. Begs the question, what came first, the art or the game? In this case, it's the art.
Yep, it's a good game.
All right. I will go with my number 10. And my number 10 this year is Mansions of Madness 2nd edition. So this is one that I have played only a few times, but I've really enjoyed each time. And when I was putting my list together, I was thinking, like, what are the games right now that I really wish I could get to the table? What are the games I want to play right now? Mansions of Madness 2nd edition. So this is Call of Cthulhu. This is... it's an app-driven kind of, not dungeon delve, but in that same vein as you're moving around the board, and you have a ton of different boards that you're going to like line up depending on the scenario that you're running. I just have the base game, but there are some expansions that add more adventures for you to go through. But you're going to be cooperatively going through this journey together. And you're normally going to be fighting some cultists or some creatures, or you're going to be running from said cultists and creatures, depending on how well you are with combat. Eventually going up against some crazy big bad creature that will drive you insane. And if you're me, when that drives you insane, that causes you to lose the game, because you all have some kind of like jobs that you want to get done. And if you go insane, then that job changes, and now you have to go with whatever your insane thing is which for me, last time I was playing, I had to like burn down the entire house and everybody got out except me and I died in the flames. It was fantastic. So if you like games that can devolve into crazy shenanigans and involve Cthulhu-esque creatures and a lot of investigation, then Mansions of Madness 2nd edition might be up your alley, and that's why it made my top 10.
All right, so my top 10, number 10, is going to take place in space, and it shares the name with a not so great James Bond movie, and that's going to be Moonraker. So Moonrakers is a deck building game that you need to do a lot of negotiation, especially early into the game, to accomplish different tasks. And all these tasks, you're going to negotiate the rewards for that. And the caveat to the game is when it's your turn to do these tasks, you have one action. And the cards that you play out of your hand and out of your deck will grant you more actions and other abilities in there. The gameplay works really well. It's very smooth. And I think the negotiation aspect works really well in this game. A lot of negotiation style games tend to break down very quickly, and this one holds it together very well because you have to do it. You have to do it well. Meanwhile, building your deck so you can accomplish these harder tasks toward the end by yourself. Plays really great, and everything that they did from artwork to even the insert for the game is fantastic. So that's my number 10.
All right, I guess I'm next. And my number 10 is Gaia Project. In Gaia Project, you're basically building a 4X style space empire with asymmetrical alien factions. All right, technically there's no like exterminate because there's no like a direct battle conflict. It's mostly like economy and area control. But very cool game with a lot of like bells, whistles, and gears in it. And it's not even very long. Like it's 6 rounds. It's 6 rounds to accomplish as much as you possibly can, which is often both stressful but also awesome.
Yeah, and what between Gaia Project and Terra Mystica, I will play, Gaia Project, not so much for Terra Mystica. All right, well, I guess I'm up then, huh? All right, so my top 10 is it's not really my top 10. Instead, it's a battle royale that I created myself, where basically I made a bunch of different categories, and then I took the best one out of those, and then all those categories competed for the top 10. So I have like a list of 20 games of, whatever, and then I got the top 10. So the one that made the cut for 10 was the one I labored on the most, and right now it's Scotland Yard. So it's a 1 versus mini game, which is one of the categories I created. I like it better than Fury of Dracula because like Scotland Yard it's a little bit simpler, but I don't know, I just like it thematically and it just works out nicely. And you don't have things where just like all those extra abilities that you get in some of those other games of that style just kind of make it so, if somebody who's playing the one is incredibly skilled, or experienced, they're just going to steamroll everybody else. And or you could have like just bad luck and then I don't know. I feel like there's a lot more imbalance that can happen, but with Scotland Yard, it's a lot of, you have to psych everyone out.
I'm not entirely sure. Well, currently you already have the oldest game.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I might beat you. I think. That's what we're going to see.
We'll see.
Now we're going to our number 9. So my number 9 is a game that only plays over, a couple rounds. Not that many rounds at all either. And that's Twilight Imperium, whatever edition, but 4th edition I really, really like. I don't know if I care too much about the expansion itself. Some of the things are a little bit too much in the expansion, like the mechs and stuff. But the expansion does add a whole bunch of additional factions, which is nice. So overall, Twilight Imperium 4th edition has been like a staple game for me that I try to play annually. It's been a little bit. I think I lost a year or two. But, COVID, that's the before times. Who knows what happens anymore. But it's an amazing game that takes between 8 and 10 hours to play. It is a quintessential 4X game. It is 100% that. That is what it is. But it's also a giant space opera. It is a wonderfully fun game that playing it, the time just flies because you're really invested in it. Players' turns take a long time, but I always found I'm still invested in the game. I'm really interested in what they're doing because it really does matter. So that's my number 9, Twilight Imperium, whatever edition.
You know what? My TI4 is still sitting up there on my shelf. Never gotten a chance to get it to the table yet.
What? Well,
that's because I usually play somebody else's copy. So
that's true. That's true. We're going to be doing another annual one. My goal is this year we're going to be doing one. So
you promised that last year.
I know, and I lied, but not this year. You can trust me. All right, Nathan.
Never trust James. He's always the betrayer.
Well, actually, that is statistically true.
So my number 9 kicked Terraforming Mars off my top 10. So that is Arc Nova. Does a lot of the same things, has a lot of the same feel, but basically it is a card-heavy game. You are building combos, but you can't rely on luck of drawing the cards you want. You have to, because there's so many cards in the game, you have to look at what you have, look how those work together, and every time you draw a card, you have to evaluate that based on what you already have rather than what you could have in the future, because you're not going to see something that you're hoping to see. There's just too many cards. And the theme of this, I really like. It's you're building a zoo, you're getting different animals into your zoo to appeal to guests, but you're also trying to get funding from attracting people to your zoo to fund different conservation efforts. So it has a positive theme too. But the thing that I think really sets us above Terraforming Mars is the scoring at the end. It is so simple and clean. You just look at where you are on the conservation track compared to where you are on the how attractive your zoo is, and the difference is your score. So simple. It takes 10 seconds to figure out your score, as opposed to Terraforming Mars, where it could take 5-10 minutes. But that's my number 9, Arc Nova.
All right. My number 9, as a lot of people know who watch the channel, I like 2-player games. I've talked about it quite often, and that is Seven Wonders Duel. It is still one of my absolute favorites. And so in this game, you're going to be drafting cards from the board and creating your own little city of cards, and they have different colors, and some of them are going to get you victory points. Some of them are going to help you build your wonders. And it's a very nice 2-player game that involves not a ton of strategy in the base game, but with some of the expansions, there's some nice level added of strategy that you can get involved in the game as well. So if you like a good 2-player game that has a nice tug of war, not a huge tug of war aspect to it, but you're just trying to figure out, if I take this card, then they're going to have to take that card, then I can get that card, and then somehow it all gets screwed up, then this might be a game that you might enjoy. So yeah, 2-player game, really, really well done. Can play it in 45 minutes to an hour, I think, whenever I play it. And it's a lot of fun. So Seven Wonders Duel, number 9.
You know what? That one of my categories, unfortunately, didn't make the top 10.
Didn't make the top 10. Yeah.
But it did win. At least it was in the running.
Okay.
So it
So
was murdered.
my number 9 actually replaced one from my list last year, which was really, really high. I do believe in the top 3, but my list has changed quite a bit this year. So number 9 is going to be Reavers of Midgar. So Reavers of Midgar is the sequel to Champions of Midgar. So with Champions of Midgar, you were trying to become the Jarl and doing all the Viking things that you would normally do. Reavers is more focused onto the Viking of ratings and all that good stuff. And I really liked the I go, you follow mechanic in there, because you only had one choice to make on your turn, but you needed to pay attention through everybody's turn. And a lot for that, because you can go and follow everybody else and accomplish those things, or if you can't, you're just collecting resources, which may help you later, but you're losing out on these really cool things. And depending on where you're going and what number you're going, how powerful that action is going to be. And it played really smooth. The artwork on it, much like Champions, I really liked. It's just everything overall I really, really enjoyed playing it so much with you guys. I actually finally punched out the copy I had and got to play it myself there. I was like, yes, I love this. Number 9.
Very cool. So, you know what I love in games is when the game tells you you can cheat. And the best game for this for me is Glory to Rome, because you do ridiculously broken things in Glory to Rome. It's an engine builder set in like ancient Rome where you're building buildings, and but like the game just gets explosive very, very quickly. And there are some reasonably broken cards in the deck that allow you to like draw a bunch of cards, dump like a bunch of resources into the communal pool. There's one that wins you the game on the spot. There's one that ends the game on the spot, and whoever has the highest score is the winner. So hopefully that's you when you make it, but maybe not. And it's just really well paced as well.
I was worried you were going to say Munchkin.
And Dan has a real copy of it.
I was going to say this might make my list if I could actually own a copy of it. It's such a fun game.
I managed to track a copy down and offered it to Nathan, and he said no.
It was just a little bit too expensive. Just a little bit.
All right. So my number 9, speaking of older games, I do go older for my number 9 one. I think it's older. Stratego.
Oh, no, that is so old.
Yeah.
That is just like there's dust coming from you right now. I don't know what's happening here, but it's like a aura.
Yeah. I mean, thing is, like, I was looking at it, because my category here was 2-player games. And you know what? And, that's how, like, even though Seven Wonders Duel was in there, but that was in the drafting games,
That got killed by Stratego?
Yeah. Oh, that's because for me, Stratego has a special place.
Okay.
We'll save that for another time to explain why. But yeah, I mean, it's the classic game of, try and maneuver around, feints, jukes. It's like, oh, hey, what do I have here? Where's the, the marshal? You have to kind of keep track of everything, as well as trying to, obfuscate, and you have, imperfect information. So, I mean, it's a classic, and I think it's a classic for a reason.
And it's as old as John is.
And also, I was debating doing my top 10 least favorite games of all time, and that might have been number 1.
Oh, Nathan hates.
Oh.
He hates Stratego. He hates it.
I have a terrible memory. It doesn't work.
I played it every day after school. Part of Latchkey, man. It was a thing.
Yeah. Well. So now we're on our number 8, and I'm super excited about my number 8. I have captured John's flag and have made a contribution of the greatest game at least 8th greatest game in the world, and that is Terraforming Mars Ares. I really, really love this game. It knocked out Terraforming Mars for me. I do understand it's not the same game. I love Race for the Galaxy. I love those type of games. I love, I guess that like you lead, I follow sort of mechanic. I like the fact that you are secretly picking what action you do. And there's a lot of strategy in the game and trying to say like, well, what is my opponent's going to pick? Because if we all pick the same thing, that's the only thing we get to do that round. So I really like that. I really like saying that, maybe I want to develop this time, but, I don't know, Nathan needs to develop really badly. So maybe I won't pick that one. The artwork is phenomenally better than Terraforming Mars. Which it doesn't take much to be better than clip art, but it is a lot better. And the component quality is great, far better than Terraforming Mars. And I get the same feel. I realize it's not the same game, but it's a game about terraforming Mars. It has the same distilled down, like sort of Tableau building engine-y thing going, but not as much as terraforming Mars. And it plays in a much smaller time frame, which I do really, really appreciate. And it is much easier to teach. Terraforming Mars gets off into left field really quick with all the cards you can get, and people can get really quickly overwhelmed with that game. But that's my number 8.
Pretty solid.
He actually uses the same mechanic as Evan's Reavers of Midgard, because that also has the follow mechanic, which I think it did really well. So my number 8 probably has like one of the most number of videos of anything on our channel, because I did a huge unboxing of this and had to break it into so many parts. And I played this game for a long time, and that's Oathsworn. Oathsworn is an epic campaign game where you're going through an actually well-written story over probably going to take you a couple months to actually play through this entire game. I think I did it in about 2 or 3 months, and that was on a pretty good clip. And the actual individual games are good. They're not, it's not the best campaign game I've played, but the overall story is by far the best. And I love the conclusion of this game. I don't want to spoil that. You need to play through this game. And if you love minis, this has some of the best I've seen.
It has a metric ton of minis. Like, it is literally, I can't even explain how many minis it has. It has houses, it has trees. They're like, we're going to make everything plastic. That's how many minis it has.
The houses were, and the trees were optional.
Wonder why. You're like, well, we totally need a giant plastic house for this game that just stands in the corner.
Well, but the reason I got the houses and trees of the optional add-on is like, oh, if I play this game, if I do some RPG with a friend,
yeah,
I have a village I can build.
Yeah, they look phenomenal. So, yeah, what the heck?
So someone like me could actually save money by not having to get them?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
You can play Nathan's copy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So that was your number 8. How about you, Peter? I'm interested to hear your amazing 8.
All right. Number 8 for me is Raiders of the North Sea. So I do like worker placement games. This one for me is probably now, I think, my favorite. I know that there are a couple out there that I really want to play, haven't had an opportunity yet to. But for right now, this one is my favorite. I love the place a worker, pick up a worker, and do both of those actions. I think that this is a game that plays really well at all player counts, which I don't find is the case with a lot of games. I feel like a lot of games you usually find 1 or 2 player counts that it works best at. I have played this at its lowest player count and its highest player count, and think it is phenomenal at all player counts. So you're going to be placing your workers. I like that there is the kind of the early game where you're focused on the bottom half of the board, and then you slowly work your way up the board as you're raiding. I hate the fact that you get up to the top and you're doing so good, but then all of a sudden you really need to get one of those lower black meeples. And then when you get that to do the thing down there, then you're stuck down at the bottom again for a while. Then you got to slowly work your way back up the map again. There's just some really interesting things happening in this game that for me, each time I play it, I really enjoy it. I bounce back and forth with different strategies, trying to see which one. It's a game that I've not just found a single strategy, and I do it every time I play it. I will bounce back and forth to see if I can just up my score. I've played it a bunch because it has a fantastic digital adaptation available on Steam, and so I've played it a bunch on there as well. So it is a phenomenal game, and that is my number 8, Raiders of the North Sea.
All right, so my number 8 is going to come in, and it's actually going to be not so much a game, but a miniature system. So the miniature system is the Fistful of Lead system. So Fistful of Lead is a D10 miniature-based system. It's super easy to learn. And what's really cool is they have the base core mechanics of the game. And then whatever you want to play, there's just an add-on and specific rules for that time period. So if you want to do Old West, if you want to do Black Powder era, if you want to do space, if you want to do fantasy, it's all there. All you need is, an opponent, 3 to 4 miniatures to play the skirmish game, tape measure, and a deck of cards, and you're off and going. I actually ran a game using their Black Powder era, Horse and Musket, and I did that at this last Cause Con, and I taught the people to play that within 1 to 2 rounds. They had the system completely in hand, took it off, and they were able to do what I always like to do. And I know if it's a solid set of rules and I did a good job teaching it, if I can walk away from the table and the game can continue, and it did. What's really cool is once you get the basics of the game down, you can go into more advanced rules where you can actually assign traits to characters and customize them more. And the last thing that I'm going to really talk about it is this is a system that doesn't use a point system when you're buying units. Point systems I don't like because I like to do a lot of historical stuff. Well, historical battles were never 100% even. So it's a system that is designed to do various sides being more or less powerful. It works really well. It's very, very smooth. I have the game in multiple different eras. I really like it. It's going to be a con system that I'm going to use quite a bit going forward. And it even scales up where you can go, instead of just singular miniatures for things, you can actually use bases and go into large scale battles with it. So it is scalable up. So great system. Really, really love it. Number 8.
So is that going to be like just a core book, or is like a core book and then you get like add-on books? How's
so
that
the
work?
core So the core rule book is a fistful lead, and they put just super generic, and they have a couple little things for a couple different eras that you want to play in. And then if you want to get really specific into something, you go and look, like I have it pulled up here, like Fistful of Lead Reloaded is Wild West, or some muskets for Black Powder. They've got Might and Melee for fantasy, but they also have Mages and Magic for that, Monsters and Mazes. And even as Galactic Heroes, Tales of Horror, so all that, even as specific as Viva la Revolucion for the Mexican Revolution. So all sorts of different lines within that. They even have a mech system in it too. So it's usable in all that.
I like it.
Yeah. All right. I may or may not mention the great Alexander Fisher later tonight, but I will mention him now for my number 8, Maracaibo. Maracaibo is another engine building game. This one takes place in the Caribbean during the Age of Sail, where you're traveling around the map and you're possibly fighting for one of the 3 major European powers during that period in that area of the world, and but you're not connected to them in any way. So you're more like a privateer. You can upgrade your ship. You can go on an explorer track. You can fight battles, and all these various things are worth points. And it's probably close to my favorite Alexander Fisher game. But here it is at number 8, Maracaibo.
Maracaibo had a mini campaign in it too, didn't it?
Yeah, there's a story mode. Yeah.
All right. Well, going into my number 8, this is probably my last older game on the list, I'd say. And it was the winner of whatever category you would call like Catan Territory Builder Collections games. It's Cathedral. All right. So, it's kind of a little bit harder to get, and it's on my list of games that I really want to get. Just because, it's been out there for a long time. The art in it, like, it all looks like it's like hand drawn, and the gameplay is just, I don't know, it just flows really well for me, because you basically are building out the map and you're taking control of territory, but it's more of you're taking intersections so you can have access to different resources to help build the cathedral that everyone is contributing resources and collecting points at every tier throughout the game. And, you'll have so many different, of your like markers out there, and you kind of, with the other players, you're kind of building the map and you're trying to jockey for position. Because one of the things that happens is it's not random as far as the resources that happen. Everybody will take a turn and they will pick one of the like 5 numbers, and then everybody's hut or village or what resource collection spot that matches that number will take a resource and mark that resource as gone for that round. And turn order matters, because if you're the first one to go and you go somewhere first, nobody else can get there later. So it is kind of a race. And you can also build fences to block people from accessing a specific resource. So yeah, it's kind of a lot of back and forth on that. And I feel like it really does that well, because it's not just, you don't get, hosed because, the number 5 hasn't been rolled a single time out of the past 30 rolls,
I'm going to probably be way off on this, but I think that game came out after 2010. Pretty close to that. It's definitely after 2000.
I know it's definitely I think it was after 2000, but I know it's was the first one, and it's hard to get.
Yeah. Keep the other one.
There's Key to the City. There's, there's a few of them, the card game is also pretty good, but it didn't really fit into this category. So
comes up as a, yeah.
Actually, I am curious when Cathedral did come out.
We have to let us update a second. 2002. Oh, I was off. All right.
Yeah.
Well, now we're on to our number 7, which is the 7th greatest games of all time. So my number 7, because I obviously had to look over to make sure what my number 7 was, is a repeat. It's the first crossover that I believe we've had today, and it's Mansions of Madness. Mansions of Madness is an amazing app-driven game. So thematic. I can't believe how they can make the game completely different between sessions or just scenarios. Sorry, not sessions, scenarios. Wonderful, wonderful game. Don't want to talk too much more about it because Peter said everything wonderful about it. But yeah, my number 7, Mansions of Madness.
Okay. Well, my number 7, I'm not entirely sure the designer is human, because he is too talented at too many things. And that's Sleeping Gods by Ryan Lockett. So this has beautiful art, incredible storytelling. It's basically a campaign game where you have this huge open world, and you can play this game over and over again and never go across the same story, because everywhere you go has a branching storyline that branches to all these other branching storylines. And there's so much content here. I don't know how they did it. It's just an incredible game. Sleeping Gods by Ryan Lockett.
He had practice with Near and Far and Above and Below and all those ones. But yeah,
true.
It's amazing.
The only thing that kept it from being my number 1 was I didn't like how they taught the game. They have a little intro session that you were supposed to learn how to play, and I didn't think it was that well done. But the game itself is incredible.
All right. So my number 7, I'm back to 2-player games. And this one is, at this point in time, my favorite 2-player game. Involves some wonderful tension and stress with the tug of war that goes on. And you will be playing either as the Nixon administration, or you will be playing as the reporters trying to bring him down from the Washington Post. And it is called Watergate. And James is looking for his copy. He can't find it because I stole it last time I was at his house. He just doesn't know that. Watergate, which is phenomenal, a phenomenal 2-player game. It can be played in a relatively short amount of time, especially if you're me and James and you're trying to get it in real quick before you play another game, and you're just really fast action. But the tug of war, like the stress that it builds up in me is so great. And I love that, actually. I really, really appreciate it in a 2-player game specifically, because it's just, I don't know, there's just something about it. But the tug of war aspect is you are trying to gain your evidence that's going to connect the different people who took place in the Watergate scandal to the Nixon administration. If you're playing as the Nixon administration, you are trying to stop those connections from being able to take place. Both players are trying to play cards that will give them access to those different people, either giving the reporters access or blocking off that access if you're the Nixon administration. And then there is a board where you are actually playing a game of tug of war with these cards, as the little bits of information go back and forth. And so you have to kind of decide, are you more interested in getting a higher initiative in the next round? Are you interested in trying to get your abilities to go up? Or are you interested in getting the actual evidence so that you can connect the people? And there are single-use cards that, like, when you play it, there's two uses on each card, and every once in a while, if you use the big use, that card's out of the game for good, and it can just turn the game on its head. You're so sure that you're about to win, or if you're James, you don't realize you're about to win, and then you still do. But it's a really, really fun game. It does a lot of what I'm blanking on the name of the other game that it's the Cold War era.
Twilight.
Twilight Struggle. It does a lot of what Twilight Struggle does, but on a much smaller scale, which makes it way more easy to play. Twilight Struggle is amazing, but there's just a whole lot more to it. So yes, Watergate, my number 7 and my favorite current 2-player game.
Very nice. My number 7. So what really pushed this game onto my list at this spot is the amount of plays and the amount of enjoyment that I've gotten playing this game with my wife, and that is Sagrada. So Sagrada, it's a dice drafting game where you are building a stained glass window. You have a grid in front of you, and the placement rules is you can't use the same color next to each other for the die or the same number. And it's an open drafting and a snake draft. The game, it's really simple to teach. It looks absolutely beautiful, and it will burn your brain when you get to the end of the game, as you are going, how can I not get this to work? But overall, like it's very clean and very nice and very fresh, and I really like it. So my number 7.
All right. My number 7 is a game that's been on my list before, and it's back with a vengeance. My number 7 is a game that's unfortunately no longer available. It's Fortune and Glory, full title, Fortune and Glory, the cliffhanger game. This is Indiana Jones in a box. If you ever wanted Indiana Jones in a box, this is it. It's the rule set is actually overly complicated, but if thematically you think of it as you have a character that's going on an Indiana Jones style adventure, then you'll get nothing wrong. What do you call it? The game's got a couple modes to it. You could play it cooperatively or competitively against a vile organization, or a bit of both, actually. And it's a giant sprawling mess of a game that's still beautiful and amazing in its own right. That's pretty much it.
All right. Well, my number 7 isn't a repeat, but I suspect it might become one, because I think somebody else is probably going to have it higher up on their list. This is the winner of the deck builder. This is the one I probably agonized over the most as far as which game wins this category, and that game was Dune Imperium. I mean, it has like a lot of the things I feel like I have a problem with, like, a lot of other deck builders, and I don't know, I just really enjoy the competitive part with like the oh, am I going to commit troops, not part of it. the area kind of control-ish a little bit. I mean, there's just like a lot of different other moving factors, but because like, building your deck so you have those options to, be able to adjust and somebody goes somewhere that you really needed to do, having those options and building your deck around it and like your character's power. I mean, it all fits together nicely for me. And that's why it comes in, and it just edged out Trains and Moonraker for me.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that is a good pick. I like that one. All right, so we're on to number 6, all of our number 6 games of all time. Now, this is a quintessential list of the top 10 games of the universe, so you don't need to go anywhere else. Whatever we said is the top 10 games. I don't know about Stratego, but okay.
No, it's definitely. It is a reason why it's a classic and it still survives.
Save those burns for later, James.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. All right. So my number 6 will probably be worming its way up my list in the future, but this is where it's at for now. It's an amazing sandbox game. It's my favorite sandbox game ever created. And it gives me feels of more complicated sandbox games, but it's still, in a tighter package. And that is Star Wars Outer Rim. Dripping with Star Wars theme, you're racing through the universe and one of the iconic characters doing all sorts of whatever the heck you want, trying to get up to 10 fame first. First person there wins. So I really like that it's A race game, B, super thematic, and I can do whatever I want. If I want to smuggle, I'll smuggle. If I want to hunt people down, I'll hunt people down. If I want to be a boring merchant, I'll be a boring merchant and just sell things all day. So, or just explore, like go to different planets and explore. I have not done that enough. My next game, I'm going to drop everything and just explore the planets because you can get a lot of fame doing that. I'm going to see, how I do with that. But that is my number 6, Star Wars Outer Rim.
That's an excellent choice. My number 6 is a little bit of a surprise to me. And, it was a game that I didn't expect to like. In fact, I had zero interest in it when they first talked about it. And then once I tried it, I was hooked. And that's The Crew. It's a super light cooperative trick-taking game, which when I heard that, I was like, how can you have a cooperative trick-taking game? Shouldn't work. But they do a phenomenal job making that work. There's a lot of thought you have to put into it, but it's the communication limitations put a lot of attention to it too, and it's just a lot of fun. And everybody cheats a little bit in this game, and it's sometimes that's actually a big part of the fun too. It's just like that's cheating, right? Yeah. Oh well, whatever. Let's go on. Continue. But The Crew, specifically Quest for Planet 9.
Nathan, you sure you want to play that card?
Yeah.
All right, number 6 for me. This is a game that I've only played once. And yet I have now purchased it. Can't wait to get it to the table again. And has already made this list of games that I just can't wait to play as soon as possible. And in this one, it is Celtic all day long. Because you're going to be drafting cards, you're going to be laying out your boards, you're going to be moving your men around, and that is Ennis. This is a game where you're going to be drafting cards at the beginning of each round, and you're going to be moving your people around. You're going to be building sanctuaries, and there are 3 ways to possibly win this game, and you are going to be constantly trying to block other people from doing those, as well as trying to get your win victory in there before they can. It's an interesting bit of a tug of war where because there's those 3 different possible ways of winning, that you're really trying to keep a close eye on what everybody is doing. And there's a wonderful bit that I really like, and that is once you are capable of winning the game, becoming the king of Ennis, you have to declare it. so that everybody knows that you are about to win. And then everybody immediately turns against you, doing their darndest to stop you from winning by the end of that round. It was just a really, really interesting game. I, like James, love the art for this game, which art for me is a good way of kind of getting me to feel the theme of the game. And this game has that in droves. So it's a little bit of men on a board area control, but not just that. Don't think it's just that. There is some combat that's probably going to happen, but it's not the major focus of the game. And again, because there are those 3 different ways of winning, and there are ways of like making one of those like slightly easier as well. There's just a lot happening in a game. And honestly, you've got the different boards that connect together, and they just look cool the way that they connect together. It's a very unique style of getting the puzzle pieces of the board to go together. So even just that level of ingenuity, I thought was really cool. So Ennis, can't wait to get it back to the table. That's my number 6.
Great choice. Great choice. I really like playing that game. Haven't played it for a while, but I can't wait to do it again. So my number 6 is going to be a repeat that has already been mentioned, and that's going to be Twilight Imperium. So Twilight Imperium, much like James, whatever edition. So everything that I put on my list, I have played recently within the last year. This is the only one that is not on that list. But I had to put it on the list because of the different times I had played it are so memorable. You cannot play this game and not have a memorable experience for it. And because of that, there's no way that this can't make my top 10 list. But I mean, if you want a 4X game, this is like the king of 4X games. It's just gone through many editions, been tightened up over the years, and it still takes 8 hours to play. But it is 8 hours that feels like 2. And I can't wait until James stops lying to us and actually invites us over to play this game. So, number 6, Twilight Imperium.
I will play tonight if you called me.
I'm too old to make it that long at night. I had to start earlier.
All right, it's on me. So there may be one designer besides Alexander Fisher that has more games in my collection, and that's Scott Alms. I might own more of his games than Alexander Fisher games, because I own a lot of Tiny Epic games. So my favorite Tiny Epic game is Tiny Epic Quest. Tiny Epic Quest has a really cool art style. It has a lead follow mechanism where one player chooses a mode of movement, and then everyone gets to move one of their 3 different meeples using that mode of movement across the map to try to get them to a location that they can then accomplish a task during the shared night phase, which is a push your luck dice roller. You also get to unlock, cool little item meeple artifacts to give you unique special powers to all your meeples, and that's sweet too. So Tiny Epic Quest.
Yeah, I was about to say, so yeah, there it is. All right, so my next game was my social deduction game. You know what? There's a lot of them that are competitive where you have to find out who's the betrayer and everything else. But you know what? The one that wound up winning it for me was a co-op one, Mysterium. Because, there you have basically one person who's the, relaying information. You have to try and suss out how everybody gleans information, and then they have to also try and figure out how you're conveying that information through all the different cards. And so it's kind of like everybody has their own individual clue deduction that they're having to do. And it's cooperative. So it's I felt like it was a little bit different direction for that, but yeah, that's what comes in for number 6 for me.
I very much enjoy Mysterium.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun playing it too. Playing the ghost is the best.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You're like,
you don't have to talk.
What are you guys doing?
People are like, how can you go a whole night without talking? It's like, you mean I don't have to talk? This is awesome.
Yeah. They're like,
no.
oh, they fixate on things that you why? Oh, there's a red leaf there. That means this. I'm like, what?
What?
Yeah. No,
I didn't even see that.
Yeah. Oh, when that happens, I then give them an angry ooh.
Yep. That works.
On their next dream. Yep.
All right. So we're down to our number 5. We're halfway done, and these are going to be our top 5 games. Yes. And little side note, this designer used to be almost my entire top 10 list. And, he hasn't designed too many games recently. What the heck? Anyway, my number 5 is designed by Eric M. Lang, and that is Blood Rage. Blood Rage is an amazing game where you do card drafting. You throw your Vikings in there. You get monsters, and you just murder, kill everything. Try to control your areas. Try to pillage them. Get points that way. Really crazy game that Nathan somehow just kicked our butts multiple times the last 2 times. I don't even know what was happening. Just nonsense. So just 2 bad games of Blood Rage. That's why I dropped from 1 to 5. No, I'm kidding. It's been slightly going up because other games that I've been enjoying a lot too. And after a while you get the same old with that game. So Blood Rage 2 has to come out. But awesome game. Blood Rage, super awesome miniatures. Great CMON game. My number 5.
I know he did post something on Twitter about a week and a half ago about working on Blood Rage 2.
Yeah, he needs to just do.
He
the
just
working
hinted
part.
at. I know, right?
I have my money. He takes it. I get Blood Rage.
That's how it works.
That's how it works.
You give me game, I give you money.
I give you money. You give me the game. You're forgetting the game part.
Okay. Mine was recently dethroned. It was number 1 on BGG for quite a while. It's another big campaign game called Gloomhaven. Now, Gloomhaven, as I said, it's a super big game. And actually, it's even bigger if you consider it now has a sequel, Frosthaven, and it has a spin-off, which is Jaws of the Lion. And, he does like having a little bit of the content interchangeable, and you can actually play some of the Gloomhaven characters in Frosthaven, and the game plays for 100 hours plus. That Frosthaven is the same. So if you get this series, you never have to play another game in your life.
Well, as long as you only live for 100 hours. But,
Yeah.
I will say, I'm not going to dwell on this much, but I think Frosthaven is the reason why Gloomhaven went to number 2. Because of the metrics, it has to go with how many times it's been visited and all that stuff. And Frosthaven's probably taking a lot of that away, traffic away. So that's my guess. But yeah,
it's number 3 now.
Yeah, it's going to keep dropping because Frosthaven is the thing that people are not going to go to the Gloomhaven one as much. That's my thought, at least.
That makes sense, and it'll take a little while for Frosthaven to rock it up.
I don't know. I doubt.
I don't know if it'll reach number 1.
10.
But it'll definitely get up there, but it's not going to reach number 1, I don't think.
Well, we'll see. Well, let's keep going. All right, Peter, what is your number 5?
All right, so my number 5 is also a crossover between me and James. I am a big fan of Star Wars, and I love some sandboxy games. So I am a big fan of Star Wars Outer Rim. It's one that I keep wanting to get back to the table. I've been playing it recently. I've finally got a physical copy in my collection. Can't wait. I'm going on a trip with a buddy of mine here pretty soon. And I'm bringing Star Wars Outer Rim with us because we're going to find time to play it. It's a fantastic sandbox game. I'm with James. I love running around, encountering the different people on the planets. He didn't really explain that part, but it's like you get to the planet and then you can choose to either encounter the planet and do a task, or you encounter some of the people on the planet. Some of those people you're going to hire on as crew members to your ship. Some of the people you're going to fight them. You can have bounties. I've played multiple. I think I've played twice as IG-88, the droid that's going to go out there and bounty hunt and assassinate people. And it's just a blast getting to roll the dice and try to defeat them. It's just a really, really fun game. And I think it plays really well. And it's also super frustrating as I just can't roll as well as I would like. These guys know I as much as I am an RPG person at heart, I can't roll dice to save my life. But yeah, Star Wars Outer Rim, a blast to play. Anything that gets me back into that universe and telling new stories, I'm a fan of. So that's my number 5.
That's because IG-88 is the best character.
Right?
I just want to say I hate Star Wars. Do not like it at all. So,
He it's like there's nothing else. He's like, he was just like, guys,
I hate Star Wars.
It's like, I'm done. Just hate it.
Moving on. So my number 5 is actually going to be a crossover with Nathan, and I have what replaced also Terraforming Mars. And that's Ark Nova. So Ark Nova, much like David said, I mean, you're building a zoo, conservation efforts, really nice, clean skin that they put on top of this game. But it feels more accessible than Terraforming Mars, which is what I really, really liked. It still has the learning curve issues because it is a heavier game. And I don't think you're really going to enjoy the game until you get 2 or 3 plays into it. But I also think the same thing with Terraforming Mars. I think just Ark Nova accomplishes that style of game so much better.
Plus, you get the coffee mug.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't beat that. Coffee.
How often can you say, don't touch my gorillas? It's and
Hands off my sheep. All right. So for my number 5, I picked a game. There are some games that are very complicated and overblown, like with tons of plastic or a thick rule book. And there are some games that accomplish so much with so little. So my number 5 is the game Concordia, which manages to do what it does exceptionally well with 1 page, 2 sides of rules and wooden bits and some cards, and that's it. Awesome. In the game, somewhat abstractly, you're building a network of trade houses, and you're accumulating resources to get these cards, which represent favor to the gods and also influence with the Roman Senate in a very abstract way. But basically, you're through a combination of the cards that you purchase and the houses that you put on the board is basically what your score is going to be at the end of the game. And the better you do those 2 things in combination with each other, the better your game will be. And it just it's so well put together for just maybe a dozen different cards with a couple different variations of each one. And just a very simple, just play a card and do what it does. Do what it says on your turn. That's all you do.
Concordia is amazing. I agree.
All right. So you might have thought any of my other placements might have been controversial.
Wait, are you going to say Star Wars Outer Rim?
No. No, that one did win my sandbox one, but that didn't make the cut for 10. Yeah, that's because it wound up beating Fallout because, I felt like it did things that Fallout did, but way better. But yeah. No, mine was a party game category is my number 5 slot. And, that's games like, let's say, Dixit, but it isn't. Instead, it's actually what comes in here because, you know what? I don't know. I mean, I love the TV, the YouTube series. And, I don't know, I really like the clever writing of the questions. And, I like trivia games. And unlike Trivial Pursuit, that where you get stuck on, this goofy, unnecessary board, it's just straight up, you got the questions and you got the kind of different ones where you got to write down answers every now and then. Plus, also, I like being the host, too. I mean, I'm not going to lie. You feel a whole lot smarter when you have the answer right in front of you. Although
Go ahead.
I was gonna say for a lot of them, I mean, I do know the answer, but
Yeah, I'm really bad at that game, but I was surprised how much I like that game. I
So
mean,
bad.
I
So
didn't
bad.
get plastic wedges, but still, no, it was so good. I mean, Peter, I think you liked it too, right?
Yeah, it's good. I'm
Great.
I'm
Makes me feel
never
dumb.
ever going to win that game.
No, I'm not either. And the funny part is sometimes I think I'm like, oh, I know this, and it's not.
Yep.
When we played this at Library Game Day, I jumped
Yeah.
in later, and by the end of it, I was beating Peter.
You're beating me
Again,
too,
I
think,
will
yeah.
never win this game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is a really good pick. I hate party games. I like that one.
Yeah, if not for the fact that it was so good, the party game category probably wouldn't have gotten in the top 10 otherwise.
All right, so now we're down to our top 4 games. So my number 4 game, we gotta get a look over apparently, is another crossover with Peter. Peter and I are like in sync. And well, it's 2 games. I'm gonna cheat. So I'm cheating.
Shenanigans.
Yeah, I know.
Shenanigans.
You're gonna get burned for this.
Yeah, I know.
You just prepare.
I know. So this is Raiders of the North Sea / Raiders of Scythia.
I've got to play Raiders of Scythia.
Oh, Raiders of Scythia. I don't know. I have only played it twice, so really can't go anywhere. But I really do think that it's probably better than Raiders of the North Sea. And I do love Raiders of the North Sea. I love everything about it. It was the first game that I think I was just floored with how it does worker placement. You place a worker down, you get a worker. You know how many workers you get for the entire game? 1. Love it. There's so much strategy in that one dang worker that you have. And you have to think like ahead properly, or you end up being like, oh no, I just lost the meeple that I need to be all the way up in the mainland. And now I have this useless meeple that I can only get like 2 provisions. Why? Because I didn't plan right. Really, really amazing game. There's multiple expansions for Raider of the North Sea, and they're all wrapped into, or at least the best parts of those expansions are wrapped into Raiders of Scythia. So one of the things you get with the base game of Raiders of the North Sea that I didn't like as much was you can get that perfect crew. So if someone gets that perfect crew, it's really hard to deal with them. But in later expansions, those crew members will get wounds at the different places they go. And that reduces their power. So they have to change out their characters. That's built into the game of Raiders of Scythia already. And they simplify the raiding spots a little bit. Not that they were complicated in Raiders of the North Sea to begin with. But I really like to play Raiders of Scythia with Peter specifically and everyone else, but Peter specifically to see what he thinks. But that's my number 4. We're going to go with Raiders of the North Sea for now.
Well, apparently I'm a bigger Star Wars fan than both James and Peter. Because
John.
Yeah,
because my number 4 is Star Wars Outer Rim, which they said pretty much everything there is to say about it. I can't see what he's pointing at.
that there's the Star Wars MMO Collector's Edition Darth Mag, yeah.
Okay. But
too much money on that.
Yeah. So yeah, this is an excellent sandbox game, and even has another amazing expansion to add so much cool content and fixes all the things that may not have even bothered you, but it's like you might have noticed, but not enough that it was bothering you, but it fixes them. And it's just a really good game.
Yeah, I haven't played it with any of the expansions because I only played it when we played it there. So I mean, it might have wound up going up higher if I had to guess, because there were some things I kind of felt like were, sticking points with why I didn't put it up higher.
Well,
you definitely want to play with the expansions.
Yeah. Get Unfinished Business and try that out. And I think anything that was bothering you, even the slightest, it's fixed.
Maybe other than the Star Wars theme.
Well, yeah, except that it's all Star Wars focused.
Yeah.
So number 4 for me is one that we've talked about a bunch on the channel, and we've played it on here as well. If you've not watched it, is one of our most watched playthroughs. and that is Dune. So this was an old game that was finally brought back, and it is just the number one thing for me. Hard to get to the table because you want to play this game with 6 players. Get 6 players to the table. Dune is the game that I'm going to be playing. It is fantastic because everybody takes on a faction, and that faction has its own way of breaking the rules of the game. That asymmetry is where everything resides in this game. So as you have everybody taking on their places, some people get to have a ton of betrayers while everybody else gets to have just one. Somebody else is getting to look at the cards ahead of time that nobody else can look at the cards ahead of time as they're drafting them and they're bidding on them. Somebody else gets to just say, hey, this round, this person's going to win at this round. And if their prediction is correct, then they win instead. There's just so many cool things about this. And all of those powers are steeped in the theme of the Dune universe. They're not just willy-nilly. They make actual sense to the factions that they are assigned to. And I actually really like the board as well. It's area control, and there's combat happening. And the combat mechanics are, to me at least, very unique. I don't know that I've played any other game that quite works the same way. There's going to be a card part to the battle. There's a little wheel for how many people you're putting into the combat, and then you're also putting in your leader, and you got to be careful with your leader because they might actually be a traitor depending on what cards everybody else got. So just a really, really interesting, unique, cool game that is also set in a universe that I enjoy. And so that is why Dune is my number 4.
So my number 4 is a game that I'm going to pronounce incorrectly to bother Peter, and that is Wonderland Wars.
That is amazing. Yes. Oh.
And I hate you so much.
In Wonderland's War. There you go, Peter.
That doesn't sound right.
Yeah,
it doesn't. It does not sound right. In Wonderland Wars. Yeah, that sounds better. It is a bag building push your luck mechanic game. So there's an area control in the outer area that you're going to be placing your workers out. And if you have a worker in that area, you're going to be involved in the battle in the end. But the key part to the game is before you get to that, you are having the tea party in the middle. And tea party is where you're going to be gathering Wonderlandians, other chips for your bag. And I really like how both parts of the game work together. And I like how with the tea party, because there's so many different spots you go around, you're collecting cards to build your bag or build everything out into the game. You can end up going around that table as many times as you want, but you're risking yourself more and more, which fits into this push your luck style game. Also, I absolutely love the art style in this game. It is a beautiful game. It is a bit of a hog on the table, but when you look at it all across there, it looks great. And it's a game that plays better when you get the upgrades, when you go from the cardboard chips to the plastic chips. It just enhances the experience. But yeah, that's my number 4, Wonderland's War.
What table? You can't even see the table. You assume there's a table underneath all of the pieces, but you don't really know it's there. Not for sure.
No.
It could all just be floating in midair.
Yep. You want this? This is one I put into in my bag builder and deck builder. So this is one of the ones that Dune Imperium just edged out.
All right. Yeah. So for my number 4, I guess I have to respectfully disagree with most of the other people seated here, because my number 4 is a sandbox game, but it is definitely not a Star Wars sandbox game. My number 4 is Shia or Zaya, The Legends of the Drift System, which is also a sci-fi sandbox game set in You're a ship captain and you can do things like upgrade your ship and ship cargo and go on missions and all sorts of other things in an attempt to achieve fame points. And like the game's got a variable end because like you can decide at the beginning how many fame points you're playing to. The scoreboard goes up to like 20 if you really want to play that long. That's a long game, by the way. But I've played tons of Shia where I think I've only gotten Star Wars to the table, I think once. Not saying that Star Wars would beat Shia for me at all, ever.
Some people can be wrong. Oh, no kidding.
I mean,
No, this
they
would
call them hot
probably be
takes
my
for a
top.
reason.
What's
This
that?
would probably be my top 10 if I had played it a little more. But
Yeah, you do have the copy and the expansion. What were you saying, John?
I was gonna say, I mean, they do call them hot takes for a reason. So All right, so I guess we're coming in with my number 4, and it's a kind of a repeat, so we won't go with it too much, but it's Gloomhaven. So, yeah, I mean, that's the winner of the Dungeon Delver, category for me, edging out like, Hero Quest and Descent was not even really in the running for me. Yeah, I just don't really like Descent that much. I don't know. It just never really clicked. Yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean, I think we've already said enough about Gloomhaven. So
yeah, it's Gloomhaven's amazing. Yeah, it's. But Descent's good too. I like. I
Gloomhaven's better.
So much Hero Realm too.
Descent,
not Hero Realm, Hero Quest.
Yeah,
when I was a kid. Yeah,
Descent has more standout moments, but Gloomhaven has a cleaner rule set and mechanic.
That is true. All right, so now we are down to our number 3, and my number 3 is a crossover again with Peter, obviously. So
who else?
Yeah, so I want to be Bren. Everybody wants to be Bren, but only one person can. And Innis is an amazing, amazing tactical majority area control, whatever of the 3 things you need to, one of them to win. Wonderful, wonderful game. I really love the hand management in that game, where you have to manage your hand really, really well after you draft to make the most of your actions. There is a lot in that. You know what other people have, probably. You know what other people can do. You got to figure out with what you got how best to take your turns. I really, really love Innis. Amazing, amazing game. It was way too long before I played my first game of that. But yeah, that's my number 3, Innis.
Okay. My number 3 is another campaign game. And it's Mechs versus Minions. And the biggest reason why this is on there is because this is actually a moderately complex game, but the way they teach the game is so well done. It essentially becomes an introductory game that you can have somebody who's never played a game in their life come and play this game and have no trouble learning. In fact, I've done that with a group of people. It was like I had nobody else had actually played a modern game and taught them all of this in a few minutes, and they loved it. It's a program movement game where each turn you're going to add to your program, which also means as the game goes, you're going to be doing more and more actions. And by the end of a session, you're so powerful. And you're wiping out these minions left and right. You go from at the beginning, you're struggling just to take out one minion. At the end of the session, you're taking out 10 to 12.
Or if you're really bad at the program movement, you're stuck in the corner spinning in circles.
Every time I always say my mech runs on damage because like I'll just for some reason like I get damage and stuff and my thing goes in like wild circles and I still kill everything. It's like amazing. But that game, Mechs versus Minions is the highest component quality game that I have, period. Out of all the Kickstarters I've ever gotten, out of all the games I've ever had, that just blows them away with component quality. It's just to the point of being ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like half the price of something equivalent quality.
or even then, I mean, I don't have anything that's like it. Pre-painted miniatures? What the heck?
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
No.
You
All
guys
right,
have
Peter.
talked. You guys have talked about this game a lot of times. I hate that I've not played it yet. So
We'll have to
Ditto.
change that.
yeah, for sure. All right, for me, number 3 is a crossover surprise with James. And I would say with this one, it's probably still as high up on my list, maybe because I've not played it as many times as James, though I have played it quite a few times at this point, and that is Blood Rage. I have a thing for the Viking themes, as you all know, and this game just kind of hits it in all of the right places for me. I love the drafting. I love playing with people that I've already played with and trying to ruin the strategies that they like to play with. But then that ruins usually my strategy. And then for some reason, Nathan still ends up winning. I don't know why. But I really, really enjoy this game a lot. You go into it sometimes really sure you know what's going to happen going into the battles, and then still something surprises you and just blows up everything. And I don't mind losing at this game. I still enjoy playing it every single time, even when I lose. I don't have... I think I finally have all of the expansions except for anything that might have been like Kickstarter exclusive to it. And I enjoy playing with most of it. So there's the Gods expansion, not my favorite. But everything else really, really good. It is a game that I love teaching to new people, because I just want to share my love of it with others. And watch them fall in love with it as well. I don't know that I've taught it to anybody yet, and they walked away saying, nah, I'm good. I don't need to play that one again. Most of them have either said they want to play it again, or they've also already bought the game. So I think it says a lot about the game that you can quickly get people to enjoy it. So yeah, I really love Blood Rage. It's a great game. That's why it's my number 3.
So my number 3 game is a game that has many mechanisms that I really enjoy in a game. It's got worker placement. It's got deck building. It's got area control. I love the art. One of my favorite artists for the game. And it is not the game that James is thinking of. And this game is Endless Winter. So Endless Winter.
Yeah.
Art is done by the Miko, which I am a huge fan of his art style. Really like that. But this game, it does all those things. It plays over 4 rounds, and you've got a few choices to make in those rounds. And there's only 4 things you can do with your workers. So your choices really do matter through the game. The iconography works really well with the game. The game is not, it looks more complicated than it really is. And it hurt me to my soul that I missed our playthrough through it, because I really, really wanted to play this game. I have a physical copy of this game, and I didn't get a chance to play it yet, and I missed it. So I said, screw it, I shall play solo. And I played a solo version of the game, and the solo worked really well. I really enjoyed the solo version of the game. Really, really high on this game. Really like it a lot. So Endless Winter.
Yeah, I knew you would love that game. I wasn't too thrilled about the Rivers and Raft expansion, but the other ones were fine. The Rivers and Raft expansion, there's like an area control portion of the game where you move your camps around. I didn't like how it cut that up and did a different thing, but seriously solid game. Component quality is amazing for that game too. Like it is nice. I know you got the Kickstarter edition, but even with those additional Kickstarter bits, it's still like really good component quality. Really good design.
Yeah, and the biggest complaint for the game, there was a couple things that people didn't like, and the Ancestors expansion fixed those. So if you need one thing just to add to it, get that, and you have a good game that moves to great.
Yeah, that's a super essential expansion. It's amazing. Yes, I agree. That's awesome.
All right, it's on me. My number 3 is a game that's been on my collection for quite some time. Deck building. So Clank in Space. Clank in Space is my number 3. It's a trade road decks builder, so it's got a giant deck of cards that you only can pick like 5 or 6 from at a time. You kind of have to purchase cards in order to get new cards into the trade row. They don't move out any other way. So sometimes you're left with just picking whatever the best one is for you at the time. And like it's a race. So you're racing to the other side of the board to, you have to hack the terminals to get your command codes so you can get into the command module, steal an artifact, and then get out before, you die a horrible, terrible death because you've made too much noise. What do you call it? Really, really well put together. I haven't played original Clank. I feel like Clank in Space is a better implementation, though.
I have played a lot of Clank in Space and Clank in Space Legacy. Clank in Space is better than Clank in like almost every aspect. It's more tense. It's just it came after Clank, so I think they took the lessons learned and applied it to Clank in Space. Although you did say it wrong, it's Clank in Space, like that. So it has to be like that, with the exclamation. But yes, great pick, wonderful game, really great design.
Fully agree. I can't wait to try out Clank Catacombs when it comes out.
Yeah, it's coming out soon.
But I still haven't played a Clank game. I sat and watched somebody play Clank for like an hour and a half.
Well, I would say I'd bring it to the convention, but you really need to play MX versus Minions. So I'll probably bring that as the game we play together.
All right. So my number 3 category is the number one reason why I had to do the Battle Royale method. Otherwise, most of these games would be filling up my top 10. And that is the 4X category. And the one that wound up edging out is Sid Meier's Civ from 2010. I mean, it has the exploration part of it. It has the building your civilization, technology, and it's not too complex, and it doesn't take as long as, let's say, Twilight Imperium.
Probably doesn't take as long as Terraforming Mars either.
Doesn't take as long as Terraforming Mars either, But I mean, I was able to teach people the game, and they were able to win the first time that they played it. So, it has accessibility. I never got around to trying out the 5-player mode map. I've always wanted to try that, but yeah, I mean, it's it's modular, so you don't know exactly what's out there. I mean, it feels like it captures the feeling of playing the Civ game on, but still being a good board game. And yeah, and that's why I edged out like Through the Ages and Eclipse and Twilight Imperium and etc.
No.
Yeah, it's otherwise, like I said, my entire top 10 would be dominated by this category. Otherwise,
nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong.
I mean, yeah, nothing wrong with it, but
All right, so that means we're at our top 2 games. So these are the top 2 greatest games of the entire world. All right, so my number 2 is a crossover with John, and that is Dune Imperium. I love me some Dune Imperium. It is an amazing, amazing game. I love Clank. I like Clank in Space even better, and I like Dune more than I like Clank in Space. They are different. So they both have a place in my board game collection. It's just, if you asked which one we're going to play, a market row style game where you get to play cards to place workers out or move them around a board, I'm going to go with Clank, or I'm going to go with Dune Imperium. Really great game. I'm not into the Dune universe so much. I mean, I don't dislike it. I'm just not crazy about it. But this game is really drawing me in. And I really love the art and everything they do with it. Awesome, awesome game, Dune Imperium.
Yep, that's why it won that category for me. As I was thinking, all the games that that are in that vein, like
Mhm.
deck builders. It's like if I had all of them in front of me, which one would I want to play the most? And that was the one I picked.
Yeah.
So my number 2 is sadly the only game in my top 100 I don't own. And it is my favorite sandbox game. That's Shiver Me Timbers.
Yeah, I knew it.
Which is, it's right there. It's unfortunately very hard to get. There's not that many copies out, but it's a really cool pirate game that allows you to do pretty much anything. You can spend your time being a merchant and trading goods. You can upgrade your ships, add more sails so you can faster. You can add more cannons, more space in your hull. Then you can go out and sink NPC ships. You can go out and attack other players. And you have all these life goals that you can go for. Or you can completely ignore the life goals. You can pretty much do anything you want in this game. It's lots of fun.
I do love it.
I only got to play it once. I didn't even get to finish the game, but definitely enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun. I love the little ships and being able to take them apart and add in the extra features. Really cool.
You know what? I was always kind of like, it's like you guys kept on talking it up, and I was like, it can't be that good. But you know what? Yeah, Nathan, you got me. I definitely want to play it. It sounds like it's right up my alley.
It's amazing.
Yeah, we should definitely do it.
Sid Meier Pirates in a game.
Yeah.
Evan, you getting me my copy?
I am working
He's
very hard on this.
Working on it. All right, my number 2 crossover with James and with John, Dune Imperium. So James, it's number 2, both of us on this one. Dune Imperium is just, I don't know. I just really, really love it. I like the deck building. I like the worker placement. I love the combat at the end of each round. Another one that is really, really easy for me to teach to people. It doesn't seem to take too long for people to understand what's going on there. And I just love the mixture of those different mechanics happening all at once. And I feel like they keep making it better with the expansions. They've taken a great base game and feel like they got some good feedback from people and added to it something that actually makes sense. It's not just bloating the game with more possibilities. It's actually just making it a better game. So I've really enjoyed that as well. So yeah, Dune Imperium, my number 2.
The only thing I'll say for Dune Imperium, which they really, really need to do, is now that they have those 2 expansions out, I don't know if they're planning on doing another one that modifies the board, but they should really have either a neoprene mat with it all on it,
Yes,
or redo the base board.
Yeah,
I really dislike all the boards all over the place thing. But
yeah, no, I can totally agree with that. If you can come out with a neoprene mat that has just everything, that would be better for sure.
So my number 2 is a highly asymmetrical game to the max, and that is Merchant's Cove. So Merchant's Cove, you all get to play as different merchants in this town, and the villagers or the adventurers are coming to restock in between their adventures. So you are, depending on which merchant you are, if you're the blacksmith or the chronomancer or the potion expert, you're making all these different types of goods, and they're color coded to match the different adventurers coming down. And there's a lot of player interaction on trying to determine where you're sending these boats as they come down, to what docks, and that also matters for scoring purposes on where and what goods you can sell to said people. Each merchant is its own different game in itself, which makes it super asymmetrical. There's 4 in the base game. What I really like is how they expanded into the game. At the time of the original Kickstarter, there were 3 additional merchants, so they were up to 7. They did, and it's one of my favorite companies too, Final Frontier Games. They put another game out in between this and a couple other ones. They added another merchant into that one. They just kickstarted the large box, which will fit everything into this, added more to the board. So there's even more that's going to be happening within the town. there's also an additional 5 merchants that are going to be out there. So you got 13 merchants. Really, the game can have as many as you want. You just have to create a system that works. And what's really nice with the merchants too is they're not overly complicated. The rules for every merchant is about 2 pages. That's it. And designer for a lot of this, not all of it, but most of it is Johnny Pack. He does a really good job of slimming down and tightening the rules specifically for these merchants to make them work in such a small rule set. And he did a great job with this one. Also, the art style by the Miko, again, one of my favorite artists. Really great game that Peter beat James by 1 point. It was fantastic.
Robbed. I am so angry. I will destroy you guys on the next one. I revenge. That was so bad.
And this game, unfortunately, is also cursed because every time we try to schedule a playthrough for this on the channel, things happen, and yeah, it can't just happen. But we will get this either a playthrough on the channel or a physical copy of it, because I have it with everything, because I'm an all-in person. I have it all. So we will play it a bunch because I absolutely love this game, because it is my number 2.
Fair. So you may not have been able to determine from the other items on my list, but I really like it when a game allows you to take pieces of it and combine them as new, fresh, interesting ways, possibly for more powerful effects. So my number 2 is another engine building game, which this is the style of game that does this the best, and that's 51st State Master Set. So 51st State Master Set is an engine builder set in a post-apocalyptic United States. You are, accumulating resources and trying to incorporate these weird, decrepit ruins into your state. And it's sort of like a race, because the game end triggers as soon as someone hits 25 points on the actual scoreboard, and then there's a little bit of extra scoring after that. But it also doesn't last long either. A game, I have not had a game that lasts more than 6 rounds, and for us, just at 2 players, it's closer to 5, sometimes 4. But the basic arc of the game is you're trying to collect resources and then turn those resources into victory points. And sometimes that works the other way. Sometimes you find a card that turns resources into victory points, and then you go scouring for cards that make those resources. But either way, it's great.
Oh man, that by far that's my favorite game that Ignacy Trzewiczek ever designed. And the only reason it's not on my top 10 is just I haven't been able to get it to the table. But it is an amazing game and an amazing pick. So good. So good. I'm glad someone has it on their list, because I feel better now.
All right. So my number 2 is another repeat of yep. And this was my Tableau engine builder category, because otherwise, like the 4X category, it would have helped dominate the my top 10. And so the winner of that one was Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition. I love regular Terraforming Mars. I love a lot of other engine builder games like Furnace, etc. But really, I feel like Ares Expedition was a lot more approachable. I have a few friends that I go hang out with at Origins. Rob and Steve, and they did not really like Terraforming Mars. They just really couldn't get into it. But Ares Expedition just clicked for them. It was a lot more accessible, and I feel like it's a lot more streamlined, and it's just, especially if you want to go and teach, get somebody into that kind of genre of game, you can't pick a better entry point for that.
I am dead set on my analogy I used before for Terraforming Mars. So Terraforming Mars, if you want hard, Terraforming Mars Ares is middle, and if you want light Terraforming Mars, that's nice game. And you just pick which one. That's your entry point.
I could see where you're going with that. Terraforming Ares, though, I just love that game so much.
Yeah, it is good.
Terraforming Mars devolves a lot of times for me. It's hard to get new players into it because they get crushed. It is definitely a game that rewards replayability because you memorize the cards of that giant deck, which is impossible for a new player or even one that's played it once or twice. Terraforming Mars Ares, I always felt when I got people into it that they always had a chance.
Yep.
And they always had agency in the game. But I totally see what you're saying. I just felt like disagreeing. But yeah, great. Oh man. So I'm glad I have another Terraforming Mars Ares fan.
Yep.
We're playing it. So, all right. So we're down to our number one game, which is the greatest game on the face of the planet. So my greatest game on the face of the planet is a very surprising game to me. I would probably have never purchased it, but Nathan gave me the game, which was his Kickstarter copy. That was all in Kickstarter copy. Thank gosh he did that, because I would just not be able to sleep at night if I didn't have all the things for this game, because the latest Kickstarter took all my money. And that is Death May Die. Every time I play this game, it makes no sense that I like it even more. I have no idea what my fascination is with this game. It is a fast-paced punch Cthulhu in the face and die game. And emphasis on the dying part, because that happens a lot. But it's a cooperative, so that makes it really cool. There's really cool scenarios. It's really, really just a fast-paced, like, just go in and try your best. Awesome game. Love all the different scenarios. Just got the season 3 or whatever it is with everything, which I think comes with 3 and 4, because what's money?
The question is, did you get the giant baby Cthulhu?
Okay, so this time around, I was debating it. That was the only thing Nathan didn't get that I didn't get from him, was the giant baby Cthulhu. The original Kickstarter was like $100 some bucks. It was like $250, $300 for this.
What's money?
Apparently, that's too much, because I already spent like $300 on everything else. I can't add another $250.
Hey,
I would be divorced.
You got blood plasma, don't you?
I forgot. Dang it. Can I late pledge? Oh man, I mean, someday I'm gonna get that baby Cthulhu, but it's probably gonna be eBay or something. I don't know. I don't know. I just love that game. And that is my number one. Cthulhu Death May Die. Eric Emling. And Rob Davio, by the way, that did Pandemic Legacy and stuff.
So with my number one, people are going to doubt whether I even play Euro games, because there's like nothing Euro on my list other than like my number 10, a little bit of Euro in it. But I definitely have a lot of shared taste with James, and I believe Peter was the other crossover for Mansions of Madness, which they talked a lot about this. It is a great game that you're going through a campaign. It's got a really cool story. It's got an awesome app that works really well to keep track of what's going on. And it actually kind of puts a behind the scenes timer that you don't even know it's there. And it leads to some incredible stories that you can tell after you played the game. So it's like, oh, I went insane. And it's like, everybody's kind of keeping their distance from me, but it's just a lot of fun. And you remember some of the things that happened for years afterwards.
Yep, love that game.
All right. That was a nice segue, Nathan. You didn't even know it. Nice segue into my number one. And the segue is the fact that I like story in my games. And I like stories that I can remember forever afterwards. and talk to my friends about and talk about that time that we did that thing, but we never actually really did that thing. It was just a game, but it was so much fun. And this game, I'm going to say the name of it, but it's kind of in place of a genre of games, because I know there's going to be a game in this genre that is someday I'm going to get to play it enough. It's going to overtake this one, but that is Dungeons and Dragons. So for me, there is nothing better than getting together with 3, 4, 5, 6 of my favorite friends and playing a role-playing game. I love creating the characters. I love sitting down and going through the adventures. Everything about the role-playing games makes me incredibly happy. I like being the person who runs the games. I like being the person who plays the games. And you can see, as everybody's showing some of their absolute favorite role-playing games. So I say Dungeons and Dragons because 5th edition is the game that I have played the most. But we have some really fantastic ones. One of my favorite times playing with these guys was playing through Alien by Free League Publishing. If you haven't watched it, you can go onto the channel and you can watch us play Alien together. We did it in 2 sessions. I cannot wait to run the One Ring for everybody. There are just so many amazing games coming out right now for role-playing games. If you have a favorite IP, there probably is a role-playing game for that IP. And if you like just your generic fantasy, there's so many games out there that you could be playing right now. So I say Dungeons and Dragons, but that's because I love role-playing games. And I can't wait to finally have some of these other role-playing games that keep making it onto my shelf. I can't wait to finally get them to the table with my friends so I can make a bunch of other fantastic stories with them. And that is my number 1 favorite game.
The One Ring I really need to play, and the Mistborn RPG. I read all of it. I'm ready to do it.
Can't wait to play it. You just tell me the day. Tell me the day I'm there.
Probably the next convention. I'm just gonna say, like, capture Peter, capture John, be like, you're sitting here and we're playing. All right.
So my number 1 game.
Do I get to be a twin-born gold so I can be immortal?
Well, I don't know which era we're gonna start with. So we'll see.
So my number 1 game is going to be another miniature game, and this is also the other miniature system that I will use from now on for all my con stuff. So if I'm going to be running a con game that is historical, it's definitely going to be Fistful of Lead. If I am running something else, it is probably going to be this system, which is called One-Page Rules. So One-Page Rules is a free system out there that the entire rule set is on a front and back sheet of paper. That's all you need. That's all you need for the entire system. It is free on their website. They give it away. You can go get it. You have the whole rules. It is designed in a 40-esque style, which if anybody ever wants to get my opinions about Games Workshop, hit me up on our Discord and I will gladly talk to you for an hour about how much I hate them and their model and all that. But they put a system together. They call it Grimdark Future and Grimdark Firefight, which is a larger scale and a smaller scale, 40-esque. They put army lists that you can freely get. It is a point-based, much like 40K. And you can play these games. The rules are simplistic enough, like I said, to be on one page, and you can complete a game in 90 to 120 minutes, and you're done. They also have fantasy. They've got regiments and skirmish. They also have a space-based one, and if the free version of it tickles your fancy enough, you get onto their Patreon. $5, you get the full rules. $5. And not just the rules for one, you get all of their rules, all of them. They also have a $10 level, which gets you STLs to 3D print for tons of stuff for their stuff. So they're in it for the community, which is fantastic. The rule system plays really well. At the last SibCon, I used this system to run my zombie apocalypse game. Again, 2 rounds in, I was away talking with James half the time, and the game was running, and it was running great. They were having fun. It was fantastic, and I loved it. They loved it. The system works, and is probably one of my favorites non-historical systems out there, and I have a lot of stuff that's going to be fitting into this in the near future for conventions around here. So that's why this one is number 1 over Fistful of Lead. So
that one sounds really, really cool.
All right. My number one. My number one game is a game I've probably been playing the longest of all of these games on this list. That is it's got components of a lot of other games that I do like you can build combos and create engines, and you can interact with your opponents in interesting ways, and it's Magic the Gathering, folks. If you weren't already aware of this, I played Magic Gathering for a while. I played Magic the Gathering pretty seriously in the past, where I attended competitive events of anywhere from a few hundred to a few thousand people. Some of the time I wasn't actually playing, some of the time I was on staff, but that's not neither here nor there. And I've been involved in organizing play for our local NDC community since I joined them, however many years ago that was. But I like playing the game. I like Commander. I like Sealed Deck mostly. I'll play Modern once in a blue moon. But I think any style of play that you want to pursue, I think you could pursue somewhere in Magic the Gathering. I think.
Yep.
Yep. Never heard of it though. I mean,
Yeah,
is it anything like
is this
Hearthstone?
a game that was been out for a while,
Yeah.
or was it just come out this year? Did it just come out this year?
95. 95 is when it really
is that
took
it?
off.
Oh, that's not
I
a
think,
real
I think
game at
Alpha
all.
was 93, if I'm not mistaken.
I would much rather have played the Star Wars one. Thank you.
Well, I did. Oh, wow.
And just so everyone's aware that if you do get into this, it is as addictive as probably crack. So tread
But
carefully.
more expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I might have
just like Pete's role-playing books.
Well,
If you get into it deeply enough, yeah, you don't have to worry about any other bad habits you might have.
Don't look behind Nathan right now.
You could get a $40 core book that is like 100-some pages, or you can get one piece of cardboard.
It's true. I have a couple of those.
Yeah.
I might have been in the throes of that at one point, where every expansion I'd buy a couple of boxes. That I might have been at that point.
Yeah, me too.
All right, John, what's your number one?
All right. Well, my number one, if I had remembered that, D&D and role playing was a thing, it still wouldn't have, I didn't even make that category, so I don't even know where I was. But that still probably would have only been my number 2. So, because this game here, for me, this category I called Blender, because I was like, I don't know what to call it, because it's just like so many different elements of like all the other ones, and it does them for me perfectly. I mean, it's got deck building, it's got worker placement, it's got area control, it's got a little bit of an economic to it as well. There's race condition, it's got everything, and I feel like it's a perfect balance of all of it, and it's Great Western Trail. Like, that game just does all the different things for me in just like the right little amounts. Like, the deck building isn't as huge of an element to it. So that's why I didn't really consider it a deck builder, because it only comes to play. You're more of like deck fixing, and you just want to have a certain set by, the end of the run when you go to sell off all your cattle. And, it's got also just a little bit of the, being a jerk, and like, oh, hey, take a look at this here, this route that everybody's going through. Let's make it take longer. And you also got to give me money every time you go through now. So, it's just got a little bit of all the other things. And they just, for me, it works out perfectly.
I have never played it.
I played it.
Probably my second favorite Fister game.
Oh man, I definitely need to play this game.
Yeah.
Stronghold Games did the first printing of it. It's now with a different company. So I'm gonna go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, like that new printing is really nice.
Yeah, it looks really nice. I was debating picking
Eggert
up.
Spiel is the
Eggert Spiel
publisher.
Okay. Yeah, it looks a lot better design wise, component wise. Not that the other one was horrible. It's just, I think now's the time to get it. But
yeah, and they have the new implementation for Great Western Trail Argentina. So yeah,
it's tastier beef.
So, yeah, I just can't recommend that game enough.
Yeah.
It's the one of the ones that, like if I take something with me, that's like one of the ones I often take with me.
Okay. Yeah, that's a mark of a really great game. So that was our top 10 games. I hope you enjoyed this. Stay tuned to next week when we tear each other to pieces. So we will go over each other's list. And I'm not mentioning any game I'm going to tear apart, Stratego, but not any other game that I'm going to tear apart.
If it makes you feel better, if I remembered RPGs were a thing, Stratego might have actually gotten bumped.
Oh, see. All right. Well, go ahead. Thank you for watching. I hope you had a great time. Good night.